Hello and welcome to another episode of Do You Want More, a UFC stat show right here on the Monk Maddox channel. I am your host Monk, aka the Monkmatician, and in this episode we're going to deep dive into the 5 early prelim fights for UFC 266. So without further ado, let's get right into it. First fight of the night, Omar Morales taking on Jonathan Pearce. This fight is at featherweight. Morales, 5'11", 73-inch reach, orthodox fighter. He is almost 36 years old. Professional record 11-1. He's 3-1 in the UFC. 41, just under 42% of his fights go the distance. He's won 2 career fights by knockout. No losses there, or no losses by knockout, I should say. And he's won 5 by submission. He's never been finished. On the other side, Jonathan Pearce, 6 feet tall, 71-inch reach, listed as a switch stance fighter, 29 years old. He's 10-4 professionally, 1-1 in the UFC. 14.3% of his fights go the distance. Let's see here. 64%, sorry, I lost my spot. 64.3% of his fights end by KO, TKO, 8 wins, 1 loss. And he does have 1 sub and 2 sub losses on his record. Whoops, I wasn't even at the top there. Average fight time for Morales in his 4 fights, 15 minutes, all decisions, 2.45 ass whoop index, 0.51 power index, good for 30, that's about average in the division, 33 out of 70. And then a 0.57 chin dex, which is pretty low for the division, below average. Jonathan Pearce on the other side, average fight time in his 2 fights, 5.5 minutes. 11.04 ass whoop index, never knocked anyone down, never been knocked down. This fight opened Morales minus 190. He's currently minus 153, so a bit of money coming in on Pearce, who opened at plus 165, currently sitting plus 126. This fight is a minus 170, goes to decision. I'm capping this fight. I don't have all the stats for I don't have all the odds for this yet. They're not all out. So my capping numbers are going to be a bit off, but I am leaning towards Omar Morales here. Some decision, UFC decision numbers there. And then some round finishing data. Not any finishes for Morales, for or against. Pearce has a round 2 finish and has been finished once in the first round. Ass whoop index, as we already talked about. Pearce has a terrible finish loss ass whoop index there. Striking accuracy. Let's get into the real numbers here. Morales, 3.3 significant strikes landed per minute. Anytime I say strikes landed, I'm talking significant strikes. 3.3 strikes landed per minute at a 34.38% accuracy. He gets hit with 2.93 strikes a minute at a almost 65% defense. So pretty good there. Does have a positive differential of 0.37 strikes per minute. Has a negative striking efficiency at negative 1%, so not too bad. 79% of his total fight time has been fought at distance. On the other side, Pearce, high volume, much higher than Morales. Lands 5.35 significant strikes per minute, 10th highest in the division at a just under 50% accuracy. Gets hit with many more shots than that though, 6.53 on average per minute. That is 4th highest in the division at a 39.5% defense. So not looking good there on the defensive side. Negative striking differential, negative 1.18 significant strikes per minute. That is towards the bottom end of the division, 62 out of 70. Has a negative 11% striking efficiency and has spent 57.5% of his total fight time at distance. Knockdown data, 1-4, 1 against for Morales. No numbers for Pearce. Basic takedown data. Low volume for Morales, 3 of 3, 100% though. He does have an 85.7% takedown defense. Has only allowed 1 out of 7 takedowns. His takedown efficiency, second best in the division, 85.71. I know that's, a lot of that's because of low volume, but the volume he does have is looking pretty good. Pearce on the other side, high volume takedown guy, 6.81 per 15 minutes. That could be a function of his short fight time, only 11 minutes in the octagon so far. But he does land those takedowns, 71.3% or 71.4% accuracy, 5 of 7. He has stuffed 3 of 5 takedowns against him for a 60% defense, and his takedown efficiency is a decent 31.43%. Let's see, control time data. Morales, both these guys are positive, positive ratios, I should say. Morales, 14% for, 6.5% against. Averages 2.15 minutes per 15 minutes of control time. He's fought 20.86% of his total fight time inside the distance and has controlled 68.71% of that fight time. So pretty good numbers there. And that is 8.6 minutes of control time. He has a very slow get-up time, 235 seconds, but a decent hold-down time at 172 seconds. And that's not, you know, that get-up time and hold-down time is a function of takedowns, basically, again, control time against. And you can get control time from standing, so those numbers aren't 100% accurate, but they do lean, you know, it does give you a decent picture of what we're looking at here. Control time data for Pearce, 31% for, 11% against. He controls just under an entire round of a 3-round fight. Let's see here. Has fought 42.5% of his total fight time inside the distance. Has controlled 73% of that fight time. 37.5 second get up time, very good. 3rd in the division. And a 41 second hold down time. That is towards the bottom. Submission data, nothing for Morales. Pearce over 1 in submissions and has defended the 1 submission put up against him. Let's see, what am I looking for in significant striking data? Morales is the much more accurate fighter for the most part, offensively and defensively. Pearce is the volume fighter. Striking efficiency and differentials. I mean, this is all Morales pretty much. He's much more efficient than Pearce is across the board. Almost a strike differential to the head. Quarter of a strike from a distance. And look at Pearce here, minus 1.63 distance strike differential per minute. That's a pretty big number, or small number if you want to look at it that way. And then this column I'm kind of just looking at, are these guys headhunters or not? Morales throws 84% of the total significant strikes he throws are targeted to the head, 10 to the body, and 5 to the legs. Pearce on the other side, 75.5% targeted to the head, 18.5% to the body, and almost 6% to the legs. Excuse me. And then last 5 fight statistics. Going to be the same as above because none of these guys do not have 5 fights, so we can skip that. Strength of schedule. These are based on the past 5 professional fights. Both guys are 4-1 in their last 5. Morales has the strength of schedule, and it's not even close here. I mean, you want to see it at 70 to 75. We're almost there with Morales. His strength of defeat is fantastic, as he did lose to Giga Chikadze. Jonathan Pearce on the other side, pretty poor strength of schedule there. I mean, his average opponents in his last 5, his last 5 opponents' average record is 11-6, basically. And then here is the UFC fight history. You want to take a look at that. And then a couple of graphs to finish it off. Morales is looking real good here. Blue line is above the orange in most of his fights. It is trending way up, but so are his opponents. Strikes landed against per minute. But currently, he is above his opponent's average as far as strikes landing go. Takedowns trending up. He's above his opponents, and he's tripling their average. Looking good there. Control time, he is trending down. Opponents trending up, but he has doubled the amount on average. Pretty much the same graphs here for Pearce, except for his opponents. In his 2 fights are he is catching up to his opponents in a couple of these categories, but they are outpacing him. But he only has 2 fights, so. And then we'll finish it off with a visual statistical recap here. Morales and Pearce. Morales has Pearce everywhere except for striking accuracy, and then just under the grapple control percent of Pearce. Morales never been finished. Pearce has, but Pearce has much higher power index. And then strength of schedule, very clear, very clearly goes to Morales. And then some aggregate win-loss and finish rates. This kind of helps determine, if the fight's going to finish inside the distance or not. Usually the career numbers are much higher than the UFC numbers. Probably leaning towards a no finish in this one, but you never know. But I'm leaning towards the no finish. Also leaning towards Omar Morales there. I've got no action on it. Next fight, where's my pad here? Martin Sano. Whoops, can't spell. Going against Matthew Semelsberger. Sano has no UFC fights, so we can pretty much skip this side. We will start off with some basic information, though. This is going to be a welterweight fight. Sano against Semelsberger. Sano, 5'11", 74-inch reach. He's 30 years old. 4-2-1 professionally. No UFC fights. 28.5% of his fights have seen the distance. Let's see, 28.5% have been ended by knockout TKO, and 43% have been ended by submission. Semelsberger on the other side, 6'1", 75-inch reach, so a bit bigger than Sano. 28 years old, 8-3 professionally, 2-1 in the UFC. He's got 2 wins by decision, 1 loss by decision, 5 knockouts, 1 knockout against, 1 sub, and 1 sub against in his career. Sano has a perfectly 0 AWI, ass whoop index, no power index, and no chin index either. Semelsberger on the other side, 8.67, so a good ass whoop index there, 14 out of 68. Got a very good 1.08 power index, good for 20th in the division, and has never been knocked down. Currently the line, or I should say, the line opened for Sano, plus 140. He's currently plus 291. On the other side, Semelsberger, minus 160. He's currently minus 384. So, according to my capping, I have no stats here, but actually, yeah, screw that capping. I don't have any stats, so I don't pay attention to the capping with no stats, and I generally do not bet guys that have no statistics. That's just kind of how I've been rolling lately. Fight finishes, and here's the part where we're going to ignore Martin Sano's side. So, Semelsberger does have a round 1 finish win. Striking accuracy for Semelsberger, pretty good. 6.11 strikes landed per minute. That's 4th highest in the division at a 48.8% accuracy. Very good numbers there. Gets hit with 5.68 strikes landed per minute, but at a pretty good defense, 61.43%. Ends up with a positive striking differential of 0.43. Has a 10.25% significant striking efficiency. Has fought 84.42% of his total fight time at distance. He does have 2 knockdowns accredited to him. Just under 1 knockdown per 15. That is the 9th highest number in the welterweight division. Never been knocked down. And he has won all of the fights in which he has scored a knockdown. 100%. Basic takedown data. He's 2 for 2. 100%. And he's stuffed all of the 1 takedowns against him. So 100% defense as well. He lands just under 1 takedown per 15 minutes. Does not shoot very much. 0.53%. Does have 100% takedown efficiency, though, with those 2 takedowns. Let's see. Basic control time, 9.36%. Offensive control time for Matthew Semelsberger, 6.22% against. That is a positive ratio of 1.5. He spent 15.58% of his total fight time at or inside the distance, and he has controlled 60% of that fight time. Never been taken down, so he has no get-up time, and his hold-down time is okay at 85 seconds. Has been subbed, 0 for 1 in the sub attempts. Or no, sorry, never mind, has not been subbed. He is 0 for 1 in his sub attempts. Read that incorrectly. No reversals for or against. And obviously, you know, nothing to compare it to, but Semelsberger does have some decent volume here. 4th highest head strikes landed per minute in the division. 10th highest leg strikes, 3rd highest distance strikes per minute at 5.65, and he's 48% accurate from distance. So not bad. His efficiency looking very good, you know, positive and everywhere, 62.5% inside the distance, so very good compared to his opponents. I mean, positive striking differentials pretty much everywhere in the body, to the body, all locations. Head strikes thrown per percent, so all the percentage of punches that Semelsberger throws, 80% are to the head, almost 81. 9% are to the body, and 10% are to the legs. So he does a pretty good job of mixing it up. 94% of his strikes do come from distance, however. And the last 5 we can pretty much ignore because neither guy has 5 fights. Strength of schedule. Clearly this goes to Semelsberger, and it's not even close. Again, Martin Sano, I mean, he's under 60 in most of these. That is very poor. In his last 5 fights, or his last 5 opponents rather, their average records are about 7 and 5, so pretty poor. Close to the lowest strength of schedule on the card. Semelsberger on the other side, not a great bunch of numbers here for strength of schedule, but much better than Sano, and his strength of defeat is pretty good at 85.71, as he does have a loss here to Chaos Williams in his last 5. So Jason Witt, he absolutely smashed in the first 30 seconds. Shit, in the first, 25 seconds. Couple of graphs, not much to look at here, but Semelsberger is trending up striking-wise, but his opponents are doing better than him. But he is, for the moment, out-striking his opponents, barely. Takedowns, nothing to speak of for his opponents, and he has just under 1 takedown landed per 15. Control time is okay. He is trending up, and his percentage is better than his opponents on average. And then the visual statistical recap, which I have nothing to compare numbers over here. Fight finishing. Sano has never been subbed. That's what this Shindex is. It's just the opposite of Chindex. It's just like Chindex, but for subs. I'm just lazy. Semelsberger has been KO'd and subbed in his career. It has a much better win percentage. And then strength of schedule is all Semelsberger, as we talked about. Then there are the aggregate finish numbers. What was this one to go the distance? Oh, I don't have any numbers for that. Next fight. Karl Roberson taking on Nick Maximov. I like Nick Maximov here. This is the guy that rolls with the Diaz boys. I really like Maximov here. He only has 1 fight it's not even in the UFC, it's a Dana White Contender Series fight. So those are the stats you're going to see for him. I usually do not track those, but if it's the only option I have for stats, like if it's his only fight listed, then I will take those. Roberson. Actually, this fight, Roberson Maximov, middleweight fight. Roberson is 6'1", 74-inch reach, southpaw stance, just under 31 years old. He's 9-4 professionally, 4-4 in the UFC. He's got 3 wins by decision, no decision losses. 15% of his fights have come by way of knockout victory. 61.5% of his fights have ended by sub, 4 wins and 4 sub losses. That's going to be a big number here for me as I do this stat breakdown. Maximov on the other side, 6 feet tall, 76-inch reach, 23 years old, 6-0 professionally, 1-0 in Dana White Contender Series. One of his fights he did win, 16% of his fights have gone to decision, and that's just 1 win. He has won twice by knockout and 3 times by sub. So Roberson, who's been subbed 4 times, going against a guy in Nick Maximov, who works with the Diaz boys at Cesar Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, I believe, and has 3 sub wins in his career. That's half of his fights. Roberson, -4 AWI. Maximov as a +15 ass whoop index. Maximov opened at -140, currently sitting at +100. Money coming in on Roberson, which is fine by me. I got Maximov at +105, full disclosure. Roberson opened +120, currently at -118. This fight is a -180. Fight doesn't go to decision. And as you can see my capping numbers here, I like Maximov. Roberson does have a round 1 finish win and a round 3 finish win. All 4 of his losses, as we discussed, have come by way of sub, and they've all been in the first round. 4 first-round sub losses. Yikes. Basic striking data. Karl Roberson, 2.8 strikes landed per minute. That is pretty low for the division, but a decent accuracy at just under 51%. Gets hit with 2.37 strikes landed against per minute. 13th out of 67 in the middleweight division. 57% striking defense there. Ends up with a positive differential of 0.43 significant strikes landed per minute. Has an 8.32 significant striking efficiency and fights just under 50% of his total fight time at distance. Maximov on the other side lands 2.47 in his one Dana White Contender Series fight per minute. 58.7% accuracy, got hit with only 0.33 strikes per minute. Interesting. Only got hit with 5 out of 12 strikes. 58% defense. That is a striking differential of 2.13 per minute. 7th highest in the division. Very low sample size. Advanced striking data for him, 17% accurate, and he's only fought 2% of that fight at distance. 2% of the 15 minutes came at distance. Wow. That is pretty incredible. Knockdown data 1 for Roberson, 0.23 knockdowns per 15. So nothing crazy there. Basic takedown data 4 for 7 for Roberson, 57% accuracy, lands 0.92 takedowns per 15 minutes. All pretty run-of-the-mill numbers there, except that is a very good accuracy. Roberson, 2.54 takedowns landed against per 15, 45% defense, very poor, has only stuffed 9 of 20 takedowns against him. He has a takedown efficiency of 2.14%. Maximov on the other side lands 2 per 15 minutes, 40% accuracy. No one has tried to take him down in the Dana White Contender Series fight. So not much to look at there. Here's where I want to see control time data. Roberson getting out-controlled 21.5% to 29%. Has a negative ratio. Has fought 50% of his time inside the distance. Has only controlled 42% of that time. Get up time of 103 seconds, which is decent for the division. Hold down time of 211 seconds, which is very top 10 for the division. Very good. Maximov on the other side. Control time, 75% control time for, 23% against. So all of his Dana White Contender Series fight was fought inside the distance, basically. Has a 3.26 control time ratio, 3.26 to 1. Controlled 11 minutes out of 15 minutes of that fight, and has fought 98% of his fight time inside the distance, controlled 76.5% of that grappling time. Has the 4th highest hold down time in the division, and I know there's only 300 seconds in a round. Like I said, this also includes clinch time, but not specifically, and so that's why you get a very high number. Just know that he held down whoever the hell he fought. I can't remember off the top of my head. He held him down for quite a long time. Reversal data, 3 reversals for Roberson. So each time, or 27% of the time his opponents land a takedown, he reverses it. Some decent accuracy numbers here from the punches we do have from Maximov, and some decent volume numbers as well. Of course, the defensive numbers are off the charts because of the low volume in which he faced his last fight. Striking efficiency, decent for Roberson, positive everywhere. That's what you like to see. And positive pretty much everywhere in the location differentials as well. Very, very good. Maximov with a 1.73 head striking differential per minute. Half a body strike per minute. Pretty good. 2 ground strikes per minute differential for Maximov. Maximov threw 89% of all significant strikes he threw in his Dana White Contender Series fight were to the head, 11 to the body, no leg strikes. 77% of the strikes Roberson has thrown are to the head, 11 to the body, and 11.5 to the legs. Only 72% from distance. Last 5, Roberson here, we can look at him. He's 2 and 3 in his last 5, and just atrocious numbers. Ass whooping index, terrible. Power index is very good. Chin index is very good. But the differential, pretty low. Takedown differential is very poor. And the control time differential, going against Nick Maximov, pretty poor. He is trending down in all categories in his last 5 compared to his career, except for strikes landed per minute. He's trending up by 1/4 of a strike. But his takedown accuracy is down almost 24%. I mean, that's not the right time to be dropping these numbers like that. Strength of schedule, however, this is Maximov's one con pretty much, other than his lack of experience, is his poor strength of schedule. Look at these numbers, not even 50 on any of these. His last 5 opponents win percentage, 40%, 45 strength of schedule, 40 strength of victory. That's just terrible. His last 5 opponents, on average, have a losing record, 3 and 4. Roberson, on the other side, actually has very good numbers, all over 75. In fact, 77.6 is his lowest number. He's over 80 everywhere else. I mean, just looking fantastic. Fantastic. Has lost to guys like Brendan Allen, Marvin Vettori, and Glover Teixeira in his last 5. Beat Kopylov and Wellington Turman. So pretty much low end of the spectrum and then high end of the spectrum as far as middleweights go. And as far as him beating Wellington Turman, I have a negative ass whoop index for that Turman fight. What happened here? He outscored Turman, got hit with 4 takedowns against, and he got out-controlled. So not a good look. Some graphical analysis. Don't really need to look at it for Maximov. Roberson trending way down in strikes while his opponents trend up. Opponents way above him in takedowns and way above him in control time, as he is trending down as well while they trend up. So not a good bunch of graphs for Karl Roberson. And then on some visual statistical recap, basic fight metrics. I mean, Maximov has Roberson dominated here as far as finishes go. Everywhere. Win percentage. But then Roberson, as we talked about, the much better strength of schedule. And then the aggregate win-loss rate. This is probably going to be a finish if I had to guess. I think it's going to be a finish. I think Nick Maximov subs him, subs Roberson. I mean, hey, first round. He's got 4 first-round subs against him, so it'd probably be a pretty good bet. If you like, you know, patterns and whatnot. History. Manon Fiorot going against Mayra Bueno Silva, women's flyweight fight. Fiorot 5'7", 65-inch reach, orthodox stance, 31 years old. She is 7-1 professionally, 2-0 in the UFC. 25% of her fights have gone the distance. 75% have ended by KO, TKO. 6 KO wins for Manon Fiorot. No sub numbers to speak of. Silva on the other side, 5'6", 66-inch reach, 30 years old. 7-1-1 professionally, 2-1-1 in the UFC. 33% of her fights have gone the distance. 1 win by KO, 5 wins by sub. So this is a striker versus grappler matchup. The definition of that. Fiorot, her ass whoop index in her career, the top highest in the women's flyweight division, 30.91, has the second highest power index, 0.73, and a perfect chindex of 0. Those are some great numbers from Fiorot. Silva on the other side, negative ass whoop index, no power to speak of, but never been knocked down either. She opened plus 330. She's currently plus 206. That's very interesting. Fiorot opened minus 400. She's currently minus 261. Still a bit wide for me, but I think Fiorot has no problem with this fight. That's just my opinion. 100% finish win rate in the UFC. 2 second round finish wins for Fiorot. 2 first round finish wins for Silva. Striking data. Fiorot. I mean, look at these numbers. This is pretty much the best striking numbers in the women's flyweight division. I know she only has 2 fights in the UFC, but I mean, she's first at volume. 8 strikes landed a minute. 8. 50% accuracy, that's 9th highest. Only gets hit with 1.98 strikes per minute, second best. Had an 80% defense. First in the division, obviously. Leaving her with a 6.01 significant strikes landed per minute differential. Clearly first in the division. That is insane. Those are insane numbers from Manon. 30.48% striking efficiency, best in the division. Has spent 87.5% of her fight time fighting at distance, second highest in the division. Silva on the other side, 4.09 strikes landed per minute, rather. 57.7% accuracy, very good accuracy. Pretty much the only category she has Fiorot beat on in striking. Gets hit with almost 5 strikes per minute, 46% defense, negative striking differential of 0.88 per minute. Very poor. Only a 4% striking efficiency and has fought 45% of her total fight time at distance. Fiorot has a knockdown in her career, 0.88, or in the UFC rather, 0.88 knockdowns per 15. No knockdown numbers for Silva. Takedowns, 2 for 2 for Fiorot, and she stuffed both takedowns against her for 200% there in accuracy and defense. Silva on the other side, no takedowns landed. I mean, has a good takedown defense, stuffed 18 of 25 against her for 72%. That is the 9th highest in the division. So very good there. Control time, on the other hand, 12% for Fiorot and only 0.19% against. She's fought 12.36% of her total fight time inside the distance, but that fight time she controlled 98% of. 62.5 second hold down time. Silva, terrible control time numbers. 5.48% for, 50% against. Just under 50% against. She's fought 54.5% of her total fight time inside the distance, has only controlled 10% of that time. Has a get up time of 157 seconds. below average for the division. 3 sub attempts for Silva, successful on 2 of them. No reversal numbers. And then the striking, advanced striking data, as you would expect, Man and Fiorot, as her nickname would also suggest, beastly numbers. Absolutely crazy numbers. Top 10 numbers in almost every single category. This is insane. If she can keep up any kind of numbers like that against Silva, it's not going to last very long. I mean, Silva's never been knocked out or anything, never been finished by strikes. But if Fiorot can avoid the submissions, I mean, I don't see how Silva stands a chance. Efficiency numbers from Fiorot are off the charts. Striking differential numbers are the highest I've ever seen. 5, a difference of 5 significant strikes per minute differential to the head. 420 differential at distance. I mean, over almost a strike and a half at clinch. These numbers are crazy high. And Silva on the other side is negative in, 4 of these locations and under 1 in the other 2. So Fiorot does all that while maintaining decent, punch disparity. 83% of all strikes she's thrown are to the head, 10.5% to the body, and 6.25 to the legs. 81% of strikes at distance. And then last 5 we can skip for these ladies. It's the same numbers as above. Strength of schedule is pretty poor for both of them, but significantly better for Fiorot pretty much everywhere. Pretty much everywhere. Both pretty low, though. And then the last 5 fights, if you'd like to take a look at those. Looking good for Silva. Does have that draw where she kind of got her ass whooped, it looks like. Let's see. Had some decent showings against Jillian Roberson and Barella. And then Ricci, yeah. Ass whoopings for Fiorot. Some graphical analysis. I mean, Fiorot striking off the charts. Takedown numbers off the charts. Control time numbers off the charts. Pretty much, her opponents pretty much have 0 in these categories. On the other side, Silva getting beat everywhere, and our opponents are trending up also. Not a good look from Silva. I mean, look at this. Basic fight metrics here. Fiorot, complete domination. Complete and utter domination. Neither fighter has ever been finished, so that could be interesting. And then the strength of schedule. Fiorot's is cut off because she's never lost, obviously. But she's pretty much better everywhere else, or stronger in that category. I mean, in the UFC, all 4 of these women, or all 4 of these fights from these women have come by way of finish in their wins. Interesting, interesting. I like Fiorot there. And our last fight of the prelim cards. 32 minutes. All right. Uros Medic against Jalen Turner. Lightweight fight. Medic, 6'1", 71-inch reach, southpaw. 28 years old, 7-0 professionally, 1-0 in the UFC. Never had a fight go the distance. 5 wins by KO, 2 wins by sub. Jalen Turner, 6'3", 77-inch reach, significantly bigger than Medic. Southpaw as well, 26 years old, 10-5 professionally. He's 3-2 in the UFC. He's finished 8 of his fights by KO, TKO, been finished 3 times, and by KO, I should say, and then finished 2 of his fights by sub as well. Medic, huge ass whoop index in his 1 fight in the UFC. Big power number, no chindex, very good there. Jalen Turner, good numbers here as well. 9.43 ass whoop index, 1.53 power index, 10th in the division, and then 0.7 chindex, though, not a number you want to see. 57 out of 74 there. I'm leaning Medic here. Round 1 data, both have a round 1 finish win. Turner has 2 round 2 finish wins, and he's also been finished once in the first round. Basic striking data. This is absolutely insane for Uros Medic, but 27 strikes landed per minute, apparently. How long was this fight? Not long. Yeah, a minute. Minute and a half. That's why we're going to see very inflated numbers here. 71% accuracy. I'm not even going to go over that. It's crazy. Turner, decent numbers. 5.28 strikes landed a minute at 45% accuracy. Gets hit with 3.85 strikes landed per minute at a 43% defense. Positive differential of 1.43 per minute, though. 21st out of 74 in the lightweight division. But he is negative striking efficiency, negative 11%. Has spent 64% of his total fight time fighting at distance. Knockdown data, 1 for Medic, 3 for Turner, and 1 against for Turner. Let's see, takedown numbers, 50% accurate for Turner, 0.40 takedowns landed per 15, so not a big volume threat there. Does have a very good defense, has stuffed, what, 18 out of 23 takedowns? 78% defense, very good. Very good. Basic control time, Medic controlled over 55% of his fight and only got controlled 11%, so very good ratio there, 5-1. He spent 66% of that fight inside the distance and controlled 83.5% of that grappling time. Very impressive. Jalen Turner, 20% for control time and then 15.5% against, so he is a positive differential there. Has spent just under 36% of his total fight time inside the distance, has controlled 56% of that fight time, has a very good get-up time, 69.8 seconds, and an incredible hold-down time, top in the division. Obviously, it's not 447 consecutive seconds, but it is the #1 in the division. Medic, no sub-attempts to speak of or against. Jalen Turner, 1 for 5 in his subs, and has defended 2 subs perfectly. That's interesting. 300% reversal rate for Jalen Turner. He's landed 1 takedown and has been reversed 3 times. Medic is going to have all the volume and accuracy numbers here just because of the very low sample size of fights we have. But Turner, you know, not bad numbers, pretty much average across the board. And then efficiency, again, Medic, negative numbers here for Turner all the way across, except for head striking efficiency. Does have a good head striking differential at 1.4 strikes per minute, half a body strike per minute as well. Wow. These are crazy numbers from Medic here. That one fight, he did throw 96% of all of his significant strikes to the head, 1.5% to the body, 1.5% to the legs. Jalen Turner, 76% of all significant strikes he throws are to the head, 18, almost 19% to the body, almost 5% to the legs. So he does spread those around very well. And then last 5 fight statistics for both, we don't really have to look at. They are both the same from above. That 153 ass whoop index, though, is nice to look at in that big font. Same with 2.22 power index. Gotta love it. All right. Strength of schedule, 3-2 for Jalen Turner, 5-0 for Medic. Medic has a terrible strength of schedule. I mean, 50% basically across the board. Not a good look at all. Jalen Turner on the other side, much better. Just under 75 all the way across. So that's not even, can't even compare him. Jalen Turner with a much better strength of schedule based on the last 5 professional fights. So Medic in his 1 fight in the UFC smashed up on Alon Cruz. Jalen Turner wins over Brock Weaver, Josh Kuliabow. Callum Potter did get beaten by Frivola and Vicente Luque. How's that for a UFC debut? Medic graphs, only 1 fight, don't really need to look at. Turner, well above his opponents in striking, but he is trending down. Takedowns is trending up, but his opponents are much higher than him. 2 per 15 compared to 0.4. And then he does have the control time, though, and he is trending up at a much higher rate than his opponents. In fact, if you take out that Matt Frivola fight, I mean, he's way above his opponents. And then the visual statistical recap. Medic with the defense pretty much here. Turner with the offense. As far as accuracy and time spent inside the distance, or at distance, rather. Medic, never been finished, has a perfect win percentage. I mean, pretty much dominating Turner here. And then strength of schedule, clearly that is Jalen Turner, as we talked about. Tons of finishes for these guys, 60% in losses, 100% in wins. I mean, and that's 17 wins. That's 17 finishes for these guys. Is that right? Yeah, it is right. 17 finishes out of 17 wins for these guys. And even in the UFC, all the wins have come by finish. 4 of 4. 2 of 4 have been losses have been by finish. Let's go violence on this one. I like Uros Medic here for the early finish. All right, guys. I believe those are the 5 fights for the UFC 266 early prelims. Thank you so much for joining me. Got this just under 40 minutes. We'll creep over in this outro here. Stay tuned. I am about to record the main prelim card, 4 fights on there, and then followed by the main card, 5 fights on that one. So stay tuned for that. I'm also doing a breakdown of Volkanovski and Brian Ortega, and then probably a deep dive as well into Nick Diaz and Robbie Lawler. Please leave a note in the comments. Let me know what other fights do you want to see on my Tipping Point show. That's the show where I break down 1 fight in the video, and if you just don't know which way to go, hopefully by the end, I'll tip you in the right direction. So let me know what fights you want to see on UFC 266, and I'd love to break them down for you, show you all the numbers. So once again, thank you so much for sticking around. Stay tuned for the rest of the shows, and do your fight tape, guys. Don't forget to do the fight tape. We got to take money from the bookies this week, and you can't do that without watching your fight tape. This is a perfect supplement to that, so make sure you do both, and your wallets are going to get fatter and fatter, just like me around the holidays, which are coming up. So thanks again, and I'll see you for the prelim card, UFC 266. Peace out, guys.